share.
I have two questions.
Yes.
One to do with the YTK problem, the computer problem.
Yes.
In context that you're suggesting in the talk, I wonder if it fits in with our general society worldwide. If it's going to be a severe occurrence.
In some areas, it will be severe. In others, it will not be felt at all. It will depend upon the infrastructure that has been laid down in certain areas on your planet. Since there is much diversity on your world and many different approaches to different things, then different areas will likewise experience the result and consequences in different ways. The basic thing to understand, however, is that when individuals begin to lay down other systems, alternate systems, new ideas, and put them into place, then it will not really matter if the old systems crumble or collapse, for new ones will be there, ready and willing to take their place and take up what you call the slack. Now, at the same time, sometimes what you would call a, break from the old paradigm may be a welcome thing and give individuals a chance to rethink how they go about setting up certain systems to allow them in the future to become far more flexible, less rigid, which is a metaphor for how you need to really live your lives as well. So I would simply overall suggest that you don't really worry about it, for I will tell you this with absolute certainty. The more you worry about it being a problem, the more you magnetically will draw yourself into a circumstance where you will experience it as a problem. Instead, I would suggest that you allow yourself to treat it as an amazing opportunity to allow systems to shift and change very rapidly, and that you position yourself by your energy and your own certainty so that you will know that you will be where you need to be, when you need to be there, and that you will experience, no matter what anyone else has experienced, so that you personally will experience only a beneficial result from such a consequence instead of a negative one. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense to me.
And your second question?
A personal question.
Yes.
When I wake up from a deep sleep, it's happened to me many times in my 42 years.
That you have woken up? Yes, I would think so.
This occurrence has happened many
Oh, I see. All right.
What we have is a little tiny light in our night light thing. And when I wake up and I'm looking at this light, if I'm facing that direction,
Yes.
I will actually see a scene as I'm waking up.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the room. I will visually see a different scene.
Yes.
And slowly, the bedroom over a minute or two will come back into focus.
Yes.
It's happened many times. I was just wondering.
This can be many things. It can be, number one, that in your dream reality, you have a very strong imposition of an experience that you are having in the dream realm, and that when you transition back into physical reality, there is still the overlay of the dream template, and you are seeing that illuminated as it fades into the blending back into of your physical reality. Number two, you can allow yourself to understand that sometimes, and this is almost the same thing, certain states, especially upon just going to sleep and just waking up, will allow there to be a moment or two in your terms of time where you actually are, for that moment, far more connected to multidimensional reality than you normally might be. And you may really be peering through the veils or the barriers of one dimension to another and able to see other things, other times, other places, so to speak, other experiences, alternate universes, parallel realities, for the moment, until you reestablish a connection and a rapport with the physical reality time stream that you consider to be your normal daily one. The idea here is to understand, of course, that all times and all dimensions, all are one. All are here, and in a sense, all are now. And sometimes in the proper state of mind, in the proper state of being, you can pierce the so-called veils that have been created by your consciousness that separates these things into different reality streams. Sometimes it can also simply be impressions that are retained, number three, by your memory centers, that it may impose themselves upon your cellular structure, your brain cells, and that the activation of the light in this context, in a dark room or a dimly lit room, may allow there to be like catalog retrieval of images that are stored in your memory to be brought back momentarily until again you impose the outer reality upon them. It can be any of these three or any number of other ideas. The basic idea, however, is this. Whatever the actual origination of this experience is, you can learn to exercise, to stretch your imagination and wrap your imagination around it in terms of what kind of a state does it put you in, and what do you want to do with it, and how does it expand you creatively in order to understand all the different ways and means in which this might be being created. Do you understand?
Exactly.
Does this help you?
How can I exploit this if I choose to exploit it?
Well, as I have just said, it takes an exercise of imagination. It can be that you can just sort of stay with it for a moment, recall the image that you saw, because when you use your memory, you are recreating it in the present. You're not really recalling it from the past. You are recreating it in the moment, in the present. And so if you wish to, you can recall the image as best as you can, explore it with your mind, with your imagination, see what it has to offer you. Sometimes it may be representative of a very literal scenario, but sometimes it may only be representative of what you would call a symbolic or metaphorical scenario. But nevertheless, no matter which one it is, it will still have meaning that you have imbued into it and that you can extract from it, because they are symbols relevant to your mind, your consciousness. And so by playing around in it and exploring it in whatever way you wish to, as if you are, shall we say, perusing what you might call a video archive or a library or an image source or your internet, if you simply peruse through it, certain images will stand out here and there and draw your attention to them, and as they do, you will then feel, in some senses, or experience in some way, the downloading of information. You will know what it means to you the longer that you stay with it, and you will absorb information that you can use in your day-to-day reality that you have given yourself from another level of consciousness. Does that make sense to you?
Very much.
Then have a good time and pleasant dreams.
Good evening, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I would just like to hear
Speak up and be bold.
I would just like to hear your perspective on three different areas.
3 different areas. All right. Yes.
The first one is what might be coming forth this summer in England, primarily, where all the beautiful crop formations are being shown on many levels.
Yes.
If you just might comment on what might be coming forth this summer that's different from the past 10, 12 years.
All right. Now, first of all, of course, you understand that in that particular area of your planet, these formations have already begun. You understand?
Oh, yes.
All right. And, of course, there are more and more of these formations around your planet now every year. Not just in that area you call England. You understand?
Yes.
All right. In general, first of all, to lay a foundation, the thing to understand is this about what you call crop circles. They are a composite creation of collective consciousness from a variety of different levels and dimensions, including your own. And they are like unto dream communications from your higher consciousness to your physical consciousnesses. It is like symbols of a dream language. It is that your collective consciousness, that oversoul being, that is all of you put together, is starting to talk to you in symbols, a language of dreams, a language of creation. You are speaking to yourselves and using these symbols to wake yourselves up on an individual basis. As more and more individuals become attracted to these formations, you will find yourself resonating with higher frequencies that are representative of your own higher consciousness and other dimensional consciousnesses to which you are connected. Other beings, spirits, guides, angelic realms, sometimes even extraterrestrials, are involved in helping co-create the images through energy manipulation. But what all of us are using to do that is the medium, or if you will, the canvas of your collective consciousness, and thus then the natural growing living things as the natural biological energy canvas in which these things can be imprinted. Now, in this, what you call your present upcoming summertime, you will find that there may be some directions that will have to do with creation of what you would call more grids. There may also be an inclusion of sevenfold geometry, and there may be that which you would recognize as more fractal expressions that will be geometric activation symbols. Because now is the time for acceleration and activity and application. So you will see some more of this. There will also be, potentially, as we scan the energy now, in maybe 1, 2, or 3 of the formations, an unusual dot-like pattern that will be indicative of things that may be coming up in the next several years on your planet as the transition of your consciousness continues. Does this help you?
Yes. Can you illuminate?
No. Number 2.
All right. Thank you. The second question is,
Yes.
in the upcoming Earth changes that are seem to be accelerating now,
Yes.
how do you see the Toronto area in general as an energy matrix and as a place where it is one of the, if not the most multicultural city on Earth? How this part of the world might contribute in the larger scheme of things in terms of a lot of the Earth changes?
What I will say about that is to understand, as you have already recognized, that because it is a collection point for many different perspectives and points of view, then there is a vast amount of available energy to allow there to be a very holistic expansion of energy around the planet, in that there is the ability to coexist smoothly, bring together a bunch of different perspectives smoothly, and allow them to coexist and interblend and interact and create more than the sum of their parts. That in and of itself is a symbol of the overall energy that your area of the planet is radiating to the rest of the planet. Kind of, in a sense, like a metronomic measurement device for how differences and diversity can be smoothly blended together without losing the diversity within the union. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Now, of course, what this will rely upon, as with anything, is your willingness, once you have keyed into this with your imagination, to do something, to express something actively, so that you can, by example, show what that energy is all about. And all this means is following your excitement, being who you know yourself to be, doing the things that you love to do, and by example, radiating that energy into your world. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
And remember, all these so-called Earth changes are really just reflective of the changes going on already in your collective consciousness, and the physical changes will only need to be whatever state of being your collective consciousness believes it needs to experience in order to go through a transition. The more willing you are to change and become who you truly are, the less likely it will need to be that any physical Earth changes will have to jolt you awake. You understand?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes.
Number 3.
Number 3 is,
Yes.
is there a way for the layman to understand? There's been
The layman.
well, the human.
Oh, all right, the human. Yes.
There's been a lot from the scientific area about these subatomic particles called neutrinos.
Yes.
And these beautiful little elements that are pouring into our planet and through us, if there's a way that you could help us understand how we might receive and better understand what these particles are actually
All right.
contributing.
Thank you. They are one level that is closer to understanding how every particle in your physical universe is the same particle. Let us explain. From our perspective, we have a view that we have, in your language, labeled the prime radiant, that goes something like this. Now, we understand that when we use the term particle, we know that that is a euphemism. Even your own scientists understand that when they describe particles, subatomic particles, they're not necessarily really talking about little grains of solid substance, but they're talking about light, energy, and they're talking about relationships and so forth. But we will use the term particle for convenience in this illustration, all right? And so, the neutrino is much closer than a lot of other subatomic particles to the following principle, as well as is the idea of quarks, also very close to the following principle, to which your scientists are also getting very close, and that is this. Imagine, if you will, and all of you can do this, vast, vast emptiness. Black, empty, void. Nothing in it, again, just for the purposes of illustration. Now imagine, if you will, one single little particle in the midst of all that vastness, infinite vastness. There is only this one little particle floating in it. So picture that. Now, imagine, as many of your scientists use this terminology, that this particle is, for all intents and purposes, massless. In other words, it is not affected by any force. It can go anywhere, do anything it wants. It's not affected by inertia, not by gravity. There is no gravity, there is no inertia, there's nothing but this particle, so it is affected by nothing. Therefore, it can really travel at infinite speed. It is massless, so it's not violating any laws of physics by going as fast as it wants to go. It can travel at infinite speed. Infinite speed. Now then, picture that if this particle is truly traveling at infinite speed, that means it can be anywhere and everywhere within the infinite void at the same time. So what might appear to be billions and billions and billions of particles is actually only one particle zipping around so fast that it appears next to itself over and over and over and over and over and over again, making it appear as if there's more than one particle. That's the way it is. So, if you understand that there is really only one prime radiant particle, and it is simply following what might be considered to be a geometric path through this infinite void, for lack of a better term, for this illustrative purpose, then you can understand that all of the particles, all of the atoms that make up your body, all of the atoms that make up the earth, all of the atoms that make up the stars, all of the atoms that make up every galaxy within the entirety of your physical universe are all made from the same one particle. Not the same type of particle, the same literal one particle. In the ultimate time-sharing program. Doing infinite double duty as everything there is to be. So understand the implications here. If it is all the same one particle, if the one particle that makes up what appears to be all the atoms of your body is the same particle that makes up the most distant galaxy you can perceive or imagine, then any time you make any kind of a change at all, you affect everything in creation. You alter the path of the particle by going from here to here with your little finger. You are actually impacting the farthest galaxy because you're changing the path of the same particle that makes up everything. That's how powerful you are. Does that give you a clue how to use the idea of neutrinos?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Of course, I understand that what you are doing is applauding for the universe, for its beautiful, simplistic design. It is infinitely complex, but it is not complicated. It is absolutely, perfectly simple, because there is only here and there is only now, and therefore there can only be one thing that occupies that here and now, so that one thing has to be everything there is to be. Simple as that.
Beautiful.
Thank you. say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. First of all, let us take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for allowing this communication to occur in this manner at this time. Each and every time you allow our civilization to make this transmissional link, this bridge, in this format, through this window, it affords our civilization an opportunity to experience, through each and every one of you, another facet, another aspect of the infinite, and this expands our understanding of all the different ways that the infinite can express itself. And so we thank you for this gift of sharing. We would like to begin this transmission with the following idea. We have now, for a little while of your time, been talking about what we consider to be a very important topic, a very critical topic, in understanding how to allow your lives to be transformed in the manner that you would desire. Notice that we utilize your word allow rather than use the word make. Allowing is the key. And this is why. What we will now talk about will be the issue that many of you have begun to understand, that is called the issue of surrender. And when we utilize that term, we do not mean surrender in the negative sense, in that you are creating a sacrifice within yourself, or in a sense giving up something which you truly need. We are talking about the concept of surrender as the true acceptance of your total being, of your total self, and the letting go of those aspects of your personality that only limit you, that in a sense are imposed upon you from childhood, that may not really be representative of who you are at heart, who you are in the core of your being. That is the type of surrender we are talking about. The allowance is to allow yourself to believe, to know with certainty that if you will be willing to let go of old ideas, old patterns, old beliefs, old definitions, and accept the being you were created to be in the image of the infinite, then you will be able to see, by surrendering those aspects of your personality that don't serve you, you will be able to see your life begin to reflect back to you those aspects of your being that are truly you. For physical reality, as you call it, is really nothing but a mirror. And I mean this quite literally. Quite literally. You have on your planet a device called a glass mirror. And when you look into a mirror, you will see the reflection of your face. Now, if your reflection is wearing a frown, you do not reach out and force the reflection to smile, but you yourself choose to smile instead. Physical reality is exactly like this. If you see things in your life and they are not necessarily reflective of what you prefer, of what you know to be representative of your true self in your heart of hearts, your natural core true being, the idea is not to attempt to manipulate the outside reality reflection in order to bring things back into alignment, but that you must change yourself, within yourself, first, so that your physical reality, being the mirror that it is, can reflect that change back to you. So just as you know, you cannot manipulate the reflection in a glass mirror in order to see the face smile, but instead must smile first, so too you can be absolutely assured that you know that if you do smile, you will see the smile reflected by the mirror, for the mirror has no choice but to follow suit. And therefore you can be assured that if you change inside, if you change yourself, your physical reality has no choice but to reflect that back to you. It must follow suit, for it does not have a mind of its own. But we know that when you are brought up with ideas that can make you doubt yourselves, then you can play all sorts of complicated games in your mind about whether or not your reality is going to reflect the truth. You can not be certain that it will reflect back to you who you are. You can pretend that it has the ability to do something contrary to what it is that you give off. But it can't. It really cannot. This is simple physics. We want you to understand that many of the things that we will be discussing this day of your time, the many principles that we will be sharing and discussing that have to do with your ability to change your lives in the way you prefer, will not just be left to the realm of philosophy. Oh, that sounds like a nice idea, but how does it work? Oh, that's all well and good to say that thing, all lovey-dovey, as you say, but what practical use is it? We will not leave it in that realm, but will allow you to understand that the tools, the concepts that we are sharing with you are truly concepts of physics, action, reaction. You will be able to see, by applying these principles, effects in your lives, physically, because we're not just talking about philosophical concepts. We are talking about physics. We are talking about the way reality is created. We are talking about the way life actually works in your physical dimension. So we know that this comprises a type of tool kit, and if you will keep the tools sharp and will apply them steadfastly, then you will see that they will do their job. And all you have to do is do the job of being yourself in order to use them properly. Now, what does this entail? Well, first and foremost, a very important principle. Doing the job of being yourself, first and foremost, means this, that you must treat yourself with love and respect, that you must value yourself. We can tell from interaction and observation that many of you have been taught to devalue yourselves, to think yourselves unworthy, undeserving, to think of yourselves as less than you were created to be. And as long as you choose to continue to devalue yourselves and doubt your own self-empowerment, then these tools will not be as effective as they could be. For if you are not functioning holistically, you cannot expect the tools to do their job fully. So the first principle is to understand that unconditional love must be given from yourself to yourself first. For if you do not love yourself, you will not be able to love anyone else. And we understand that you have what you call on your planet a golden rule that you usually quote as, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. However, a more precise understanding of this golden rule would really be, psychologically speaking, you will do to others what you are willing to do to yourself. So when you devalue yourself, when you do not think you are worthy, certainly you will not attach any value to anything or anyone. And therefore you will treat your world, other people, and yourselves with great disrespect. And that will amount and result in many of the difficulties and problems you see on your planet today. It is as simple as that. You do not love yourselves, so you do not love others, and so therefore you do not love your world, and therefore you see all the difficulties. But when you understand that it begins with you, and we do not mean this in a negatively selfish way, but when it begins with self-love, then you will know you are all right, you will know you are self-empowered, you will know you are connected to the infinite, you will know that a source of infinite power can always be expressed through you, you will know that life does not happen to you but happens through you, you will be a conscious, creative being in the way you were created to be, a co-creator with creation, and you will then be full of compassion, creativity, life, love, self-expression, and you will know how to be a shining example with others, to others, for others, with others, and for yourself, so that your lives can be a reflection of what you say you prefer it to be. Now, it's time to go on your planet beyond what you call lip service. It's time to put into action these principles. And so this is why it is important to understand that we are not just talking about nice ideas that you can just keep talking about and thinking about and run around in your heads and say, oh yes, that sounds nice. We are talking about principles you can put into action, that you can apply and get a result from, so that you can see and experience that result, and in experiencing that result, you can then know that these tools work. You can then know that you are a self-actualized being made in the image of the infinite. You can have that experience. And in knowing that, you will then radiate that frequency. And in radiating that frequency, then the reflection from physical reality mirror will be an equal reflection back to you. It is as simple as that. And so, we once again thank you for allowing us to share this point of view with you this day of your time. And once again, in return for the great gift that you are giving our world in allowing us to link with you, we ask in return now, in what way may we and I be of service to you? You may begin with sharing in any manner you so desire.